The US Ryder Cup team is going to be paid to play at Bethpage State Park next year, in a first in the history of this competition. I'm Ryan Ballingy with Golf Newsnet, and the PGA of America announced Monday their plans to pay US Ryder Cup players for the 2025 Ryder Cup, which will be held at Bethpage State Park in New York. The plan is to increase the total compensation package for each of the 12 US Ryder Cup players to $500,000. $300,000 of that money will be given to the players to give to a charity of their choosing in their name, and the remaining $200,000 will be paid to each player as a stipend, effectively prize money for competing in the event. This is a first in the history of the Ryder Cup. This has never been done where the US Ryder Cup team has been paid to compete in the event. Since 1999, the PGA of America has given $200,000 in the name of each player to a charity of their choice. That will increase by $100,000, but the more controversial component is the payment to the players for competing. Regardless of how they finish, regardless of how they play, whether they win or lose, they're getting $200,000 for making the team and for their 3 days of competition, plus all the other stuff that goes into being part of the Ryder Cup team, getting outfitted, practices, media events, all those types of things. And this comes on the heels of controversy at the last Ryder Cup in Italy in 2023, when there were rumors, and those were contested by Patrick Cantlay, that he chose not to wear a US Ryder Cup team hat as a form of protest about not being compensated for competing in the competition. Cantlay shot those rumors down, ultimately got married in Italy and said he didn't want to have hat hair. But there was a continuing conversation, as there has been for a number of years, about players being paid to play in the Ryder Cup, which is owned on the American side by the PGA of America. And they make a large sum of money off of the Ryder Cup every 4 years when it's hosted here in the United States. Now, those players, those 12, will receive a total of $2.4 million in compensation for their participation in the event, which is a small sliver of an enormous pie that is the Ryder Cup. For their part, Ryder Cup Europe has not announced any intentions to pay their players. The Ryder Cup for them does a lot to fund the DP World Tour. And when the Ryder Cup is played in Europe, the DP World Tour's parent European Tour, PGA, makes enough money to effectively fund large portions of their tour's operations for 4 years. And so players on the European side recognize this, understand what it means to the Ryder Cup being able to fund the DP World Tour, and for that reason they have chosen and will continue to not be paid, at least for the foreseeable future, for competing in the Ryder Cup. Although for their part, the European players who have spoken out about this, and several American players in fact, have said they would play for free, they would pay to play in the Ryder Cup, perhaps one of the best experiences in all of golf.